Live from the Nation Center, we have all the stories covered for you both nationally and internationally. And if it's Tuesday, it's Sidebar. So tonight on Sidebar, right after the news, we have Governor for County 047, Mike Sonko, joining us in studio. That coming straight after the news, but we'll have a brief conversation with Mike Sonko at around 20 minutes past 9. But first, let's take a look at the highlights.
Tonight, just how did 7-month-old baby Ethan Mwendo die?
The finding, we would say, largely was in the brain, which appears swollen.
Shalom Community Hospital in Machakos in trouble over the lethal morphine jab.
What we found ourselves here is a place where, that lacked professionals.
Also tonight, death at a peace meeting in Furole, Marsabit.
Bado tunajaribu kufuatilia ni kwa nini mkutano ilifanywa bila kuhusisha maafisa wa serikali.
The footprints of violence that claimed 11 lives. Plus, it's a gangster's paradise in Busia.
Juzi distributor mmoja wa soda wamempiga risasi.
A wave of crime barrels through the town unchecked, and residents accuse the police of laxity. And also, Governor Sonko petitioned for controversy.
Some of the queries are genuine queries, Mr. Chair, but some of the queries were put there.
But can he withstand the heat of claims against him? He joins us tonight.
NTV Tonight with Ken Mijungu.
To our broadcast, my name is Ken Mijungu, and our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. We begin with a rather sad story. A pathology report after the post-mortem examination of baby Ethan now reveals that he died out of respiratory depression caused by the swelling of the brain due to alleged intoxication. Ethan died on Sunday at the Shalom Hospital in Machakos after he was injected with morphine, which was 20 times more than the recommended dosage for his weight. However, the conclusive report and the results will be released on the 21st of this month. Meanwhile, the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya has stated that the person who dispensed the controlled drug was not a qualified pharmacist, and the baby could have been saved if an antidote was administered in time. NTV's Eunice Omolo will be bringing us that story in a little bit. But first, let's move on to the other story of interest on this day. And the elders from the Gabra community are calling on the government to open an inquest to establish whether the Forole attack was planned by some politicians from the county. The elders claim the politicians have been funding militias in Ethiopia to cause havoc. Now, this comes after 11 people were killed and 2 others seriously injured after the insurgents from Ethiopia ambushed locals who were attending a security meeting.
The attack occurred at Forole village, which is a few kilometers from the Kenya-Ethiopia border. The assault took place at around 11 a.m. on Monday when a section of Ulan elders and young men were invited to a make-believe peace meeting, which turned into the worst tragedy yet to be witnessed in the area. It is reported that the militia, believed to be from Ethiopia, sprayed bullets on locals who were attending a security meeting that sought to iron out issues between neighboring communities.
Kuhusishwa kwenye mkutano. Kwa hivyo sisi tunachukulia kwamba labda ilikuwa ni mkutano ya ngazi ya kijamii.
11 people were killed while 2 others are nursing gunshot wounds after the attack.
So militia walikuwa na claim kwamba kuna mifugo yao ilikuwa siku 2 kabla ya hiyo tukio. Na wakasema kwamba watu hao wawili waliuawa. Kwa hivyo hiyo ilikuwa ni kama shambulizi la kulipiza kisasi.
According to the area chief, the attack came a few days after the residents of Ulan, which is 3 kilometers from Forole village and a neighboring Ethiopian village, were embroiled in a row over a livestock watering point at the border. In March 2019, the government conducted a mass disarmament of the National Police reservists in the county. Residents claim the guns should not have been taken away from the reservists, bearing in mind the vulnerability at the border points, yet the government was aware that the Ethiopians had not been disarmed.
Ila amani ya kudumu inaletwa tu watu wakikaa chini na waelewane na watengeneze njia ya amani. Kwa hivyo kama kuna watu wako na dhana kwamba kwa sababu bunduki zilichukuliwa ndio maana wamevamiwa, hiyo sio kweli, na ingekuwa hivyo hizo bunduki mbili hazingeenda.
Area residents claimed they had reported about a simmering tension, but police did nothing to salvage the situation.
Tunawasiliana na serikali ya Ethiopia na pia wanatusaidia kuchunguza jambo hili.
Meanwhile, elders from the Gabra community claim the attack was planned by some politicians from the county.
OLF militia is behind these killings. Currently, youth militia training is going off southern Ethiopia, preparing them for an ongoing incursions. The same militia is being transported to Saku sub-county to cause further mayhem to the Gabras living in Saku sub-county and its environs.
The elders are now calling on the government to help resolve the insecurity problem.
All right, let's take you now to the corridor of justice. And former Nairobi Governor Dr. Evans Kidero is and will be tried after the High Court dismissed his bid against a 213 million shilling corruption case. The former county boss, together with 15 other accused persons, is also implicated in a 68 million shilling graft case and is currently out on bond after spending up to 4 nights in police custody. NTV's Seth Olale reports from the Milimani Law Courts.
Evans Kidero's woes worsened after the High Court ruled that the 213 million shillings corruption case against the former Nairobi governor will proceed. Kidero, who together with 8 others are accused of conspiring to commit an offense of corruption at the county government between January 16, 2014 and January 25, 2016, had sought to have the case halted. However, Justice John Onyego dismissed the former city boss bid to delay the matter pending determination of his appeal against charges that he said were defective. Kidero was instead directed to appear before the Anti-Corruption Court for the trial.
I do not find anything here incapable of rendering the appeal, neither as the appeal will be heard and determined within the shortest time possible.
Kidero, through his lawyer James Orengo, had argued that the charges preferred against him were not specific and that they were meant to embarrass him. Kidero further said the prosecution did not indicate how he conspired, acted corruptly or fraudulently, and occasioned the loss of the amount of public money. However, the High Court noted that Kidero had not yet been convicted, and so there was no need for the appeal.
Regarding offences touching on tax evasion, the applicant is not a victim of the same, hence cannot purport to represent the interests of the other accused persons. Accordingly, the application for stay is hereby dismissed and orders of stay issued on 2nd May 2019 lifted.
The court further noted that the issues Kidero raised could be conversed during trial before Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti. The hearing of Kidero's petition will kick off on the 20th of May. Evans Kidero and 15 other accused persons are currently out on cash bail in the 68 million fraud case. They will appear in court later this month when the case will be mentioned. Seth Olale, NTV at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
And we'll be back to the courts shortly. But first, Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha today broke with tradition and made his juniors answer questions in Parliament about the ministry. Professor Magoha who appeared to have the opinion that his juniors had not briefed him well enough before the questioning by the National Assembly's Committee on Education, simply told the ministry officials to answer the questions posed by the MPs that he could not answer. NTV's education reporter Sharon Baranga tells us that CS Magoha also had a warning for schools that will not have met the minimum standards by next month.
It was the first time Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha was appearing before the Committee on Education since he took oath of office in March.
Is this the one?
From the onset, there were signs of trouble. The CS seemingly annoyed with Ministry of Education staff.
It is like perhaps I'm being deliberately not being prepared to present myself before you, but I shall deal with it.
And as members of the committee shot their questions, he put to task officials from the ministry who had accompanied him.
Dr. Pora is here. I want to hear from him contradict the MP, because if I find that the contractor is not on site and he's telling us the contractor is on site, somebody is going to pay for that rubbish because we can't take it. Because as I continue to serve you, I don't want to destroy my career in the process. Because when I come to tell you that the contractor is on site, I've been duly informed by the technical officer on the ground. Can you address and in very plain English?
Schools that will not have met minimum requirements as expected by the Ministry of Education were put on notice.
And I think this is a worst violation of the law. They exist out there, they operate, they are known to the ministry officials.
What the government should do, rather than just shutting them down, is to endeavor to bring them to the standard that we want, so that the learner is not affected. But like I've said, I'm still speaking as an outsider, so Dr. Kipsang, can you engage?
Matiang'i came, nothing happened. Amina came, nothing happened. You are now there.
I want to go down in history as being fair to all Kenyan children. That is the bottom line. So when you, in your wisdom, you say, and others, I want to be guided, because there are supposedly government schools which are worse than those schools you are talking about. Are you telling me to shut them down? That is the first point.
You are closing universities. Are you not closing universities?
Mid-June, when they go home for half term, we shall give a detailed framework and how such by mid of June. And that these students any school which will not have met requirements, their children will be properly placed in Tata.
PS Kipsang saying the government has plans for students who had enrolled in teachers training colleges with grades C- and below who are discontinued from the studies after completing the first term.
We shall ensure that these particular trainees are not disadvantaged twice.
Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Well, let's go back to the courts. And in other news from the corridor of justice, the Director of Public Prosecution, Nordin Haji, says his decision to review lawyer Asa Nyakundi's criminal case is his own discretion and cannot be challenged. While replying to an affidavit filed by Asa Nyakundi's wife, Lydia Kungu, the DPP said Nyakundi's wife is a state witness who cannot determine when and how the charges should be reviewed. Nyakundi's wife moved to court seeking to stop the prosecution from withdrawing the manslaughter charges against her husband, Asa Nyakundi, who faces charges of murdering his son, Joseph Nyakundi. Now, Nyakundi's wife further wants the DCI and DPP prohibited from referring fresh murder charges against the husband. Elsewhere, the family of slain university student Sharon Otieno and the DPP have opposed an application by the two suspects in her murder seeking to have Justice J.C. Lesit recuse herself from the case. They say the application is meant to delay the case. Michael Oyamo and Caspar Lobiero, accused alongside the governor, Okoth Obado, argued that they will not be given a fair hearing by the judge who refused to grant them bail. The two had spent several months in remand before they were released on bond last December by the Court of Appeal. And Joseph Irungu, alias Joey, who is accused of murdering Monica Kimani, will know in 2 weeks if he will be released on bail or not. Joey, who is accused of murdering the businesswoman, is in her house, in Kilimani, has been in custody since his arrest last September. He made an application at the High Court to have his bail terms reviewed after the same court denied him bail 6 months ago. Justice James Wakiaga had, in his ruling, said Joey was a flight risk and had access to weapons that could intimidate the potential witnesses. All right, back to our top story, and a pathology report after the post-mortem examination on baby Ethan reveals that he died out of respiratory depression caused by the swelling of the brain due to alleged intoxication. Ethan died on Sunday at the Shalom Hospital in Machakos after he was injected with morphine, which was 20 times more than the recommended dosage for his weight. However, the conclusive report and the results will be released on the 21st of this month. Meanwhile, the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya has stated that the person who dispensed the controlled drug was not a qualified pharmacist and the baby could have been saved if an antidote was administered in time. NTV's Eunice Omolo with that report.
At the Montezuma Funeral Home in Machakos, family and friends of 7-month-old baby Ethan Mwendo anxiously await the post-mortem results of the young one who died after what is believed to be an injection of a controlled drug, morphine, 20 times the recommended dose for his age and weight, after sustaining a burn on the hand due to hot water from a dispenser at home. The findings of the test conducted this afternoon have revealed that there was evidence of reduced oxygen circulation caused by respiratory depression due to the swelling of the brain occasioned by intoxication.
The only positive finding we would say largely was in the brain, which appears swollen. The rest of the tissues are essentially normal. There's no evidence of injury or trauma to the head, the chest, or any other part of the body.
According to the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, the hospital lacked qualified personnel to dispense the controlled drug morphine as a painkiller or any other drugs classified as narcotics or opioids.
A place where, that lacked professionals who were able to calculate and say that this baby needs this. If that's the only medicine that's available, then at what dosage do they require it?
A drug classified as a controlled product that should be handled only by a qualified pharmacist who adheres to a professional code of conduct. Medicines are poisons and should be handled by the right professionals to provide benefit without harm.
Questions have also arisen if the baby really needed the strong painkiller for the scald on the hand and if perhaps his life could have been saved. The cardinal rule, according to the pharmaceutical body, is that the patient should be observed for any side effects upon receiving morphine treatment and an antidote given to aid flush the strong drug out of the system.
You must have the antidote called naloxone stocked in hospital and ready for use in case your patient develops side effects. Unfortunately, what occurred was that the patient was discharged after being given morphine. It doesn't seem like any monitoring was done, and even when the mother...
Too high a dose of morphine in the body causes undesirable side effects and if not curbed on time could be fatal. The toxicology, body fluids and tissues are to be submitted to a government chemist to establish chemicals present and in what ratios. The government laboratory will give the final examination results, upon which the hospital staff who are in police custody will be arraigned. The Shalom Hospital Management has issued a statement expressing its regret over the death of Ethan, stating that it will fully cooperate with authorities as it conducts internal investigations. Operations at the hospital are to come to a close on Wednesday after being given 2 days ultimatum to close down. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
Right, away from that, let's take you now to Busia, where a number of traders in that town have decried increased crime rates in the border town. The traders are pointing an accusing finger at the police over what they call laxity in investigating and apprehending the perpetrators who have even been captured on CCTV cameras. NTV's Zacchaeus Mwasame with those details.
Hali ya usalama Busia kwa jumla inazidi kidorora na kuna visa mingi ambapo polisi na askari wengine wamelaumiwa.
Several gangs have been terrorizing Busia residents for some time now, with little known about them. Apart from causing panic and fear, the gangs have been responsible for the deaths of 2 border operators. They equally shot a son to a prominent businessman who is currently hospitalized with gunshot wounds. Supermarkets, wholesales and churches have been their target too. Frankmart Supermarket has suffered the most, with its branches being under attack several times. This CCTV footage shows how the gang managed to gain entrance into the supermarket, managed to get into the strong room where over 2 million in cash and goods of unknown value were stolen.
Msaidie watu wameinvest kwa hii town kwa sababu wanaumia. Juzi distributor mmoja wa soda wamempiga risasi. Kiangalia maduka ndogo ndogo zinavunjwa. Kwa hakika there is no conducive environment for us to do business.
Visa vingi sana vya wizi, ikiwemo mpaka kwa manyumba. Hivi majuzi nilisikia wanaingia mpaka kanisani. Saa hii wanaingia mpaka kanisa, wanaiba speaker. So ni visa vya kidogo ya kutia mtu wasiwasi.
Winners Chapel, a church in Busia, became the latest victim of these night operations, losing valuables to the gang that seems to strike at will and without consequences for the thugs.
Mpaka wa leo hatujaipata ripoti yoyote na bado wizi bado inaendelea. Napo tarehe 2 hii mwezi tena waliingia kwa store wakaiba tena mali. Wakaiba pesa na wakaiba mali nyingine. Na wakaiba ile 7 ilikuwa inatengemewa na hii duka zote za Frankmart.
Wezi pia wanafanya vile wanafanya. Kwa hivyo sasa ile hali ambayo inatatanisha inataka kuzuka katika kaunti ya Busia. Lakini kama county government tutafanya pamoja na national government na tumeshaweka mkutano. County commissioner ameitisha na tutaona vile tutasuluhisha.
Our efforts to get a comment from Busia County Commissioner Jacob Narengo proved futile as he referred us to the DCI office. Zakis Masame, NTV, Busia.
Right, this is a topic that is very close to a lot of us. Universities have raised a red flag on the shocking mass failures in mathematics and science subjects in KCSE and warned that if nothing is done to curb the drop, the impact will be adverse. Considering this, more than 90% of the students sitting mathematics and science at secondary level in the last 3 years failed in the subjects, and even worse, less than 10% have qualified to pursue science university degrees. In the Daily Nation tomorrow, read about the crisis of a country that is not producing enough scientists and what could happen in the near future if important courses that are core to the country's development end up being scrapped. Plus, the lecturers seem to have a rather interesting idea on how to solve the problem. Do not miss your copy tomorrow of the Daily Nation. Right, don't miss your copy. And on that note, we take a short break. But remember, it's Tuesday and it's Sidebar. Governor Mike Sonko will be joining us in studio briefly to talk about some of the issues that we'll be discussing on Sidebar. A lot more still ahead. Stay with us.
With over 5,000 satisfied clients, Meridian Acceptances is the market leader in auto logbook facilitation in Kenya. We provide loans of up to 60% of your car's value in less than 6 hours. Enjoy low interest rates from as low as 5% and flexible payment plans. Contact us on 0704 444 888 and get your money in less than 6 hours. Meridian Acceptances Limited. Honesty, flexibility, and trust.
Now you can go as low as you want when you bet on Betika. Dunda Maju na Coke Studio. Buy and enjoy a Coke. NTV Tonight with Ken Mijungu.
And welcome back. If you're just joining us, David Agondoa is our sign language interpreter tonight. The audit queries into Kiambu County government's outrageous budget allocation has opened a Pandora's box that has left leaders in the county at odds. Governor Ferdinand Waititu has once again exonerated himself of any wrongdoing, accusing his political detractors of using the audit reports to paint him in bad light. His deputy, that's James Nyoro, has also distanced himself from the graft allegations facing the county, saying the governor has been running a one-man show. And as NTV's Zainab Ismail reports, Waititu, buoyed by the deputy president's support, also says he too needs answers on the county's curious expenditures.
Yule mtu ambaye ana jukumu ya kueleza ni auditor general, kwa sababu yeye ndiye alitoa ripoti alafu ikaja na hii maneno. Tunatakiwa atueleze hii maneno ya iliingiaje kwa ripoti zetu.
The Kiambu governor believes the over 2 billion shillings dubious budgetary allocation meant for national functions in the Auditor General's report was sneaked in by his political detractors.
Hii kamati ya Senate haitakiwi kuwa na senator yule ambaye ametoka kwa hiyo constituency, ambaye ako na interest, kwa sababu yeye anakoroga huko akiwa ana siasa ndani yake. Na mimi ndio na suspect hawa ndio wameingiza hiyo report katika, wameingiza hiyo karatasi katika ripoti yetu.
You know, when you throw a cow or a pig or anything into the river, it will try and hold on to anything. You know, he's shamelessly wanted to blame us, but he is forgetting that same Senate, you know, he is forgetting the controller of budget. The Auditor General has audited Kiambu before.
Kiambu Deputy Governor James Nyoro rubbishing the governor's defense, saying it was a clear manifestation of the governor's poor management skills.
The county is being run by one man without utilizing the machinery such as cabinet meetings.
And according to the former county boss, the Auditor General should also be put on the spotlight.
The most worrying thing is that the Auditor General is said to have given Kiambu a clean bill of health. So with that scenario in place, even a repeat audit, who is going to do it? Same monkey in the same forest.
Kabogo says it's time Kiambu County drains the swamp.
That is gross misuse, gross misconduct, and they should be kicked out of office, all of them. How do you spend money for State House in the county?
But Waititu, who appeared cowed at the Senate last week, now appears more confident than ever following the Deputy President's backing, something that has not augured well with some leaders.
I'm hoping that the Deputy President meant something different from exactly talking about the audit as far as Kiambu County is concerned. If he meant it, then I think we are politicizing the issue, and I think we have mixed up the whole issue about the management of Kiambu County with 2022 succession. We already know where and the governor has been moving around the country.
It's unfortunate that the Deputy President wants to appear like he wants to help, and yet that is an issue that touches on corruption. His boss continues to fight corruption or to seem to talk about fighting corruption. And then he seems to say no.
Zainab Ismail, NTV.
And because of those audit queries, the governors now want the Senate to stop summoning them to answer to questions on how they spent their monies in the last financial year. The Council of Governors said this will give them time to explain how some counties budgeted for state functions. They also denied the allegations that money had been lost in the counties and pointed accusing fingers at the national government, which they say was responsible for the errors reported. NTV's Silas Apollo with the report.
Speaking after weeks of reports that some counties had set aside funds for state functions, with the most dramatic yet Kiambu County, the Council of Governors today sought to allay Kenyan fears, arguing that the reports were erroneous. COG Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya said the issue was a widespread problem that had affected a number of counties, and which he says originated from the IFMIS system at the Treasury.
The Kiambu County and other counties did not budget or receive or spend the monies as indicated in the financial report.
Oparanya was speaking after the council held a consultative meeting with the Controller of Budget, Agnes Odhiambo, and the Office of the Auditor General.
That it was resolved also to form a technical committee chaired by the Controller of Budget and the Council of Governors, the National Treasury, and the Auditor General, who should give a full report within 14 days.
Oparanya says that the anomalies were witnessed in at least 9 counties of Kiambu, Kitui, Kakamega, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Kwale, Garissa, and Lamu.
We have also requested the Senate to suspend further appearance by the governors over audit issues.
The statement by the governors follows reports that some counties had set aside funds for the upkeep of retired presidents, the South Sudan peace talks, and free primary education. And it is these revelations by the Senate Public Accounts Committee that have generated public outrage, with governors accused of misusing funds, some residents protesting against perceived wrongs by their governors, and demanding resignations, as was the case in Kiambu County. In Nandi County, at least 16 county workers have been suspended, including 3 county executive members, of anomalies in the IFMIS system. The county senator has called for the resignation of the governor over what he terms as theft of funds.
We made the report to the police. We invited the DCI and the Kenya police. They have done their investigations. Some staff have been taken to court.
The National Treasury has promised to look into the issue, while at the same time defending the IFMIS system. The governors now want an audit of the IFMIS. Silas Apollo, NTV.
And a swift response from the senators regarding the concern from the Council of Governors. The letter is written by Moses Kajwang and sent to the newsrooms this evening. He says that the attention of the Senate and the County Public Accounts and Investment Committee has been drawn to the report that the Council of Governors has requested the Senate to suspend its hearing into the 2017-2018 Audit General Report. I wish to clarify as follows. And he says that on point 4, that the Senate committee shall proceed with its recommendations for a special audit of Kiambu County and shall discuss the Auditor General practical means of achieving this within the shortest time, among several other things that the Senate committee has said. Well, we will definitely be breaking down what else is in that statement for you, but the Senate is saying they'll continue with their sittings. And on that note, again, we take a short break. When we come back, it will be time for business, and Julian Samboko will be in studio. Stay with us. It is time to get down to business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko, and we stay on the issue of county governments. Just how prudently are your counties spending their finances and accounting for them? Not quite, according to the report from the Office of the Auditor General on the revenues and spending of the counties for the last financial year, which ended on 30th June 2018. Alex Mwangi reports on some of the discrepancies that made the Auditor General give an unfavorable opinion on the accountability of public funds in Kakamega, Nyeri, and Laikipia counties.
For Kakamega County, the Auditor General gives a number of reasons for his qualified opinion, which means that the accounting has gaps that are yet to be explained, such as the lack of a register of assets. Total assets are indicated as valued at 7 billion shillings, but he found no assets register either in hard copy or electronic form that was maintained during the year. The Auditor General found a difference of 531.3 million shillings in total receipts between the figures on the financial statements that were submitted for audit and those in the Integrated Financial Management Information System (IFMIS) report. For total payments, the difference between the financial statements submitted and the IFMIS report amount to 22.7 million shillings. The discrepancies bring to question the effectiveness of the IFMIS system at the county level. The Auditor General encountered a similar trend with Nyeri County. Total receipts from the financial statements are indicated as 6.4 billion shillings, compared to the IFMIS report figure of 13.1 billion shillings. Total payments from the financial statements are 6.3 billion shillings, while in the IFMIS report, the amount is 5.4 billion shillings. Similarly, statements reflecting the county's assets and liabilities do not tally. The Auditor General found that pending bills for the county as at 30th June 2018 stood at 360.5 million shillings. He did not find details on how the pending bills for the previous year, amounting to 712.4 million shillings, were accounted for. The Auditor General says that had the pending bills for the last financial year been paid and the expenditure charged to the accounts for the year under review, the statement of receipts and payments would reflect a deficit of 276.9 million shillings and not the 83.6 million shillings surplus indicated. In the Auditor General's opinion, this is evidence that the county's management entered into financial commitments for which no funds were available. Like Kakamega and Nyeri, Laikipia County also got a qualified opinion. Reasons for the qualified opinion include an unbalanced trial balance, which had total debit balances of 29 billion shillings against total credit balances of 28.7 billion shillings, leaving an unreconciled difference of 336.7 million shillings. The Auditor General states that the accuracy and completeness of the receipts generated by the county amounting to 608.5 million shillings for the year under review could not be ascertained. There is also variance between figures from the financial statements and those from IFMIS. These differences point to a challenge in public financial management, with misappropriation of funds through corruption and lack of absorption combining to rob the public of the much-needed services at the grassroots level. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And staying with the subject of accountability, the Kenya Airports Authority is in discussion with China's Anhui Construction Engineering Group in a bid to recover more than 4.3 billion shillings, which was paid to the contractor for the construction of the now cancelled Greenfield Terminal at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Appearing before the Abdul Swamad Nasir-led Public Investments Committee, KA officials were put in a tight spot to explain why billions of shillings were paid out while no work was done on the ground and not even a cent of the money was recovered after the contract was cancelled in 2016. The ambitious 56 billion shillings terminal with 50 international and 10 domestic checkpoints was intended to be the largest in Africa, increasing JKIA's capacity to 20 million passengers annually.
The termination of the procurement proceeding after award is tantamount to termination of contract in the sense that a binding legal relation already exists between the parties. Such termination will prompt the successful bidder to enforce its rights under the contract in the form of claims for damages and specific performance. This is some form of a bombshell waiting to erupt.
positions are, of course, that we will recover them.
Amicable with
the contractor.
So
we have terminated, yes.
You're in discussion with them right now?
We are in discussion with them right now, and we have been seeking advice from the Attorney General. Because
are we going to be able to get that once we go through this?
This is why it's so important.
Yes.
Now, if you're a member of a SACCO and are employed, is your employer remitting your deductions to the SACCO? The Cooperative Alliance of Kenya says employers are holding over 2 billion shillings of unremitted SACCO dues, and that a proposal to make the punitive measures against such employers is set to be tabled in Parliament soon. Lillian Carrier with the details.
Employers and senior officials who have siphoned SACCO deductions of their employees and directed it to their private coffers will have their property seized and auctioned if a proposal in the new cooperative policy is approved. With cases of SACCOs sinking with billions of members' savings on the rise, the proposal is set to weed out entities that have been fleecing Kenyans while masquerading as SACCOs.
The officers in charge of those organizations and the owners of those cooperative societies should be held liable. Some of them should be put in the cells right now.
Marube highlighted the collapsed Nakumatt supermarket among entities that registered SACCOs for their employees and were set to be remitting monthly contributions, only for them to close shop without refunding the members' savings. The leaders also disputed the age and term limit proposal that would have seen most cooperative leaders declared unfit to sit in office.
As long as members elect you into the leadership of the cooperatives, we should not talk about the age as if we are talking about employment.
Tomorrow serves as the last day when cooperative leaders are set to air their contributions on this cooperative policy. The cooperative movement is quite impactful, noting that it has a membership of over 14 million Kenyans with over 22,000 registered cooperatives in the country. Lillian Carrier, NTV.
And from savings, let's go to investments. The Retirement Benefits Authority has rolled out its 5th strategic plan, which aims to double the sector's assets under management to 2.4 trillion shillings by 2024. Players in the sector, however, face a significant challenge in diversifying investments, with high-risk investments failing to generate high returns. High-risk investments such as the stock market should guarantee high returns with a view to cushioning investors from potential loss. In the Kenyan landscape, however, such seems not to be the case, at least according to a survey covering 417 investment schemes with 808 billion shillings in assets under management. The survey by Zamara Consulting covering the period to March 2019 shows that asset managers whose portfolio is at least 80% in government securities, otherwise said to be conservative, have outperformed those that have at least 35% of assets in risky investments, otherwise said to be aggressive. This raises the question whether the objective of growing and developing the pension sector through diversification of investment is viable. According to data from the Retirement Benefits Authority, government securities command the lion's share of investment, leaving a small proportion for other asset classes. Speaking during the launch of the strategic plan for the Retirement Benefits Authority, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich said the asset management segment of the economy is pivotal in mobilizing capital towards driving the economy.
We need savings of over 25 to 28% of GDP for us to grow at 10%.
With the performance at the Nairobi Securities Exchange still subdued, it is unlikely that aggressive asset managers will realize returns which match their risk appetite in the near term. And finally, the county government of Nandi says it will not renew leases of tea multinationals within the county as they approach expiry. Governor Stephen Sang says his county will instead operationalize recommendations made with regard to the future of the international tea companies.
The expiry of leases for a number of tea multinationals in Nandi County has seen keen interest in what will happen to the over 300,000 acres of land that is currently in the hands of the multinationals. While the companies are keen to renew their leases, the county governments want them out. Here in Nandi, their position is clear.
In the event of expiry of the leases within the multinational tea estate, they revert, as the constitution says, to the county government.
Matters land remain an emotive topic here, granted that tea is the backbone of Nandi County. As a quick win of reaping from the tea multinationals here, Nandi County has increased land rates for the tea multinationals significantly.
We have agreed as a county government of Nandi that we want to start with 5,000. So we are increasing from 100 shillings to 5,000 per acre so that we have resources to build the infrastructure.
The county government of Nandi also intends to resurvey most of the land to establish the exact amount of lands under tea farming by the multinational. Nandi County says it is also seeking to unmask influential Kenyans who operate huge tea farms under multinational tags and who do not comply to the county's set rules of business operations in the county. Lois Wangoi, NTV Business in the county of Nandi.
And that's it from the business desk. Up next, we have the financial report. And that's all we had time for tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Looking for an institution to further your studies and
Tonight with Ken Mijungu.
All right, welcome back. We still have stories lined up for you. And one child has died while two others are in critical condition after they were buried in sand in Apegei village, that's in Teso, Busia County. It was reported that the incident occurred when the three had gone to sand harvest at the quarry.
A somber mood engulfed Apegei village in Busia County as this family is still trying to come to terms with the death of their loved one. It was reported that 10-year-old Eliud Otwane and his two friends, 11-year-old Sharon Baraza and 10-year-old Brian Etiang, had gone sand harvesting at a nearby quarry when Eliud succumbed to his death. Sharon and Brian survived but were seriously injured.
Changa si mara ya kwanza kuchota. Mara nyingi na imeleta shida nyingi.
Neighbors expressed disappointment. They said locals had been warned to keep away from the quarry, with many villagers going against the orders and harvesting the sand illegally.
Ni umaskini ambao unaleta hii ama ni utundu ama utukutu tu ndio hatujafaulu kubaini sana. Lakini pia jambo ambalo limetukera, ambalo limekera zaidi, ambalo limesababisha hata kifo cha huyu mtoto ni kwamba hapa marufuku kiwekwa, wazazi hawatilii maanani ya kwamba hatari inaweza kutokea, kando na wao watu wazima hata kwa watoto.
They now want authorities to keep the area free of people to prevent such incidences. Helen Aura, NTV.
From that sad story to yet another break, but we'll be right back, and Sean Kadavelis will be here with all the sports. Stay with us. A very good evening to you. I'm Sean Carter-Villis with the latest sports news. Now, Football Kenya Federation has suspended 3 Kenyan Premier League match officials after a review of questionable decisions they made during the selected Kenya Premier League matches. The FKF ad hoc committee imposed a suspension for a period of not exceeding 3 rounds of the KPL on Jose Omondi and Joshua Achila, while Collins Opio will be out for 4 rounds. Among the games in question were the Mashemeji derby between Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards, and the game pitting Gore and Sony Sugar, with the league leaders Kogalo said to have benefited from the match officials' negligence. Meanwhile, the FKF has rolled out a 3-day basic advanced refresher coaching workshop targeting 50 grassroots coaches. The workshop is facilitated through a partnership between the leading online betting company SportPesa and the English second-tier side Hull City. Kenyan Premier League defending champions Gor Mahia will seek to return to winning ways when they face 14th placed Chemelo Sugar in one of 5 KPL matches lined up for Wednesday across the country. Hassan Oktay's Chargers have drawn twice on the trot, but still have a 7-point lead and a game in hand over second placed Sofapaka. Batoto Bamungu will play 13th placed Western Steamer, who have blown hot and cold this season, with their last 3 matches ending in a loss, a draw and win. 3rd placed Bandari will be away to 16th placed Vihiga United, while 9th placed AFC Leopards take on struggling Zukaricho, who have won just once in the last 5 matches. At the Kasarani Stadium, 4th placed Mathare United will do battle with Kariobangi Sharks, who are languishing in 10th place after 4 draws and 1 loss. Liverpool host Barcelona in the second leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final, having lost 3-0 in the first leg at the Camp Nou. Ahead of the match. At Anfield, Liverpool against Barcelona. Now, the long-serving captain Vincent Kompany's wonder goal against Leicester ensured that English Premier League defending champions Manchester City head into the final game. Ken. And that's all we had for you on NTV Tonight. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ken Mijungu, but remember I'm still coming back with Sidebar, and thanks to David Agondoa, who has been my co-pilot tonight. And of course, it's Sidebar. It's about 3 minutes past 10. So when we come back, the governor is already seated here. We'll have all the questions for the governor. We'll talk about accountability, we'll talk about his leadership, and of course, we'll talk about his achievement. That coming up after this short break. Stay with us.